Today I have a brand new sonar lens for you in Leica M mount, and it's made in the UK. Lots of testing coming up. I was very excited to receive this parcel from Skyllaney Opton Mechanics. I think I said that correctly. And inside the box was not one but 3 lenses. Inside the box was a handwritten note explaining what exactly was being sent to me. And so let's go through each of those in turn. Find enclosed: one Bertele Sonnar 5cm f2, one Zeiss Jena 5cm f2, and one Jena 5cm f1.5. Have a good trip. It was then time to fly to Prague, Czech Republic, and do some testing. Hey guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. As always, firstly, a huge thanks to my amazing patrons. I'll put links below to additional content. Okay, on to the testing. So the first lens to look at, which comes in this very nice box, is the pre-production Bertele Skyllaney Opton Mechanics 5cm f2 lens. Now this is a multi-coated lens which comes with a metal front cap and a metal rear cap. And here are the other lenses I'm going to be comparing it to. As mentioned, 3 of the lenses were kindly sent by Chris, and then I'm going to be comparing it to my additional sonar lens which I've owned for a few years. I wanted to see what was the difference between these different sonar lenses and which one may be the best for you. Each of these shown lenses are pretty special in their own right for those of you that love vintage lenses and collect special lenses, so let's go through each in turn. So first, this is a brand new lens production copy. I think they made around 10 production copies, I believe, made in Great Britain. I'm very proud of that. It's quite nice to test a lens made in the UK rather than made in China for a change. It's got a clickless aperture, as you can see, and it's got the Omnar lens rear cap. I believe this is going to be sold under the Omnar name rather than the Skyllaney name, so yeah, just to avoid any confusion. The Bertele lens has been designed to have the original 1937 9 rounded aperture blades to give you the best bokeh. It's 6-bit coded, it's all metal and brass, rangefinder coupled, and it's got a modern focus tab. Now this is how it compares to a vintage lens. So this is a vintage pre-war Zeiss Jena sonar lens. This lens looks a different shape to the previous lens, and that's because it's got no focus helicoid. These lenses were designed for the old Contax cameras, and the helicoid is built into the Contax camera body itself. You can also see the apertures on the front of the lens rather than on the outside. This is a rehoused Zeiss Jena lens, rehoused by the clever guys at Skyllaney in the UK. So this lens is now M mount and 6-bit coded and has a focus tab. The difference is this is a Zeiss Jena optical formula rather than the brand new Bertele, which we're going to get onto in a second. Lastly, this is a post-war Zeiss Opton Sonnar lens 1.5. This is my copy, and here you can see how the lenses would look without an adapter or without being modified to Leica M mount. So for the Bertele lens and the modified Zeiss Jena lens, I can attach it straight to M mount, no problems. And then for the Opton Sonnar and the original Jena lens, I'm going to use a Amadeo adapter, which is Contax to Leica M, and that allows me to rangefinder couple these lenses, and it has a built-in focus helicoid. Okay, let's now get on to the testing. So for the first set of photos, as I say, we head to Prague, and these photos are all going to be shot with my Leica M240, as you can see here. This is me doing a mirror selfie to remind myself of what lens I was using, but I forgot this lens is 6-bit coded, so that makes it a lot easier in post. Here you can see the colours from the lens. These are unedited raw files in Lightroom shot with the Leica M240. This is shot wide open at f2 up close. We'll get onto that photo again as we get into the video. Here you can see some of the sights of Prague. I've tried to get a range of colours and subjects just to get a feel for what this lens can do. I did stop the lens down as if it was kind of standard street photography for some pictures, and then others, as you can see there, I shot wide open just to see the depth of field. For this next series of images, I just applied one of my Mr. Leica black and white presets to get a feel to how the photos will look in real life compared to how I see my other photos, because all of my photos I just do RAW plus preset. So pretty happy with the looks of these photos. Stop down, this lens is more than sharp enough and no complaints whatsoever. We will get into some more geeky testing as we go through, but this is just more real life, real world photos kind of on a walkabout early one morning prior to our photo shoots in Prague. Peter Coulson was with me, so I tried to get out and about and do some testing before we headed out for the day. As you know, I love the Leica SL cameras, but I think for street photography, Leica M cameras are still king. I just love the small form factor, and this lens being a small full brass lens just works really well as a walkabout lens. Here you can see some local art, a chair thrown to the top of a tree and the graffiti painted over the rubbish. I guess it's different wherever you visit. Really nice rendering from this lens. So we're going to dig more into the Boker and things as we get on. But yeah, I just wanted to show you some sample photos and get a feel for what this lens can do. I really like the size, and it fitted on my M240 into the small Wotan Craft pilot bag. I believe I had the 3.5 litre pilot bag with me, but it would fit, I think, into a 2 litre pilot bag. With one lens, one camera, you can get a really small setup using a wrist strap. This was my very first time in Prague, so I was trying to get some of the classic bridge shots, but also it's amazing for model photography. I'm definitely going to visit again, and I will do a second video purely on model photography in the Czech Republic. All the photos in that video are shot with a Bertele lens on my Leica SL. Okay, let's get into some more detailed geeky specifics. So Boker. If sonar lenses are famous for one thing, it's probably the bokeh and the rendering. This is why you'd probably favour a sonar lens over, say, a Leica Summicron or a Leica Summilux. Obviously each lens has got a different optical formula, and it's the famous sonar formula which makes the bokeh so desirable by those that love these lenses. As you can see, really creamy bokeh, shots wide open, and even when you stop the lens down, because of the 9 rounded aperture blades, you're going to retain the round bokeh balls, which is so pleasing in things like portrait photography. If you choose the right background, you can get some really beautiful bokeh portraits with this lens. Okay, Sunstars. This isn't really a lens I was going to be using for Sunstars, but I did some quick testing, and it is possible to get Sunstars from this lens. They're just not maybe as clean as from other lenses. Vignetting. This lens does show some vignetting shot wide open at f2, but as you stop down, this does decrease with every f-stop, and it's not really a problem from, I'd say, f4 onwards. Lens flare. I was shooting this lens directly at the sun a lot because that's how I shoot these portraits, and you can get some different types of lens flare, as you can see in these photos. Sometimes if you use your hand you can stop it, but without your hand you can get lens flare like this. The lens is multi-coated, but it will still flare in certain conditions. Okay, colours. When we were in the Czech Republic, we also went to Pilsen, and there's this amazing toilet like straight out of the 90s. I can't show you too much, but yeah, it was a classic. It was amazing. If ever you go, check out the famous toilet. All these photos you're seeing are shot with my Leica SL camera. They're unedited raw files, so the colours that you're seeing are straight out of camera and what you can expect from this lens. I think they're nice colours, natural and not overly saturated, and they work really well for portraits, as you can see in some of these photos. If you shoot this lens at night, you get to see some nice vintage glow from this lens, shooting the lens wide open at f2. Okay, sharpness, important for many of us. So this is shooting wide open at f2. Here's a crop in, and you can see it's sharp enough, but it's not overly sharp. Comparing the different f-stops, let's look first in the centre and then at the corners. In the centre, the sharpness is not bad at f2, but better at 2.8. The corners are pretty soft at f2, better at 2.8. This lens is pretty sharp at f4, and even sharper at 5.6, both in the corners and in the centre. Okay, let's get on to some portraits. As a model photographer, I was interested to know which lens could be best for portraits. If I was only to say pick one lens, as I say, I already own the Opton lens, so how does that compare to the Bertele and the Jena lens? All the photos are processed in the same way, shot with like SL, and then either a black and white or colour preset applied. Presets below if you want presets. I shot portraits with all 3 lenses, as you can see, and take note of the notes on the screen because they are changing for different photos. Which photos do you think give the best pictures? The Opton Sonnar, the Jena or the Bertele? Please comment below as to which you think gives the best results, or which one is your favourite from the photos that I'm sharing. You can obviously get really nice photos from all 3 lenses, but I wanted to see was there much of a difference between the 3 lenses as to whether or not I may want to order the Bertele when it's available in 2024. The main thing to note is you can buy vintage sonar lenses on eBay, but it is difficult to find 1, a clean copy, and then 2, one that's calibrated accurately to your Leica M rangefinder camera. If you're using mirrorless cameras like me with the Leica SL, you can use any sonar lens because it doesn't matter so much about the calibration. The other advantage of mirrorless is you don't need to worry about focus shift, because what you see is what you get when you're looking through the viewfinder. Big thanks to Shay, and you can find her on my Instagram, again linked below. So what is the verdict? The Bertele lens can obviously take some very nice photos, but what about some side-by-side pictures? Here's all three lenses side by side, and the results are similar yet different at the same time. If you compare the old Jena lens to the Bertele will win in every instance. It's got slightly more contrast, slightly more sharpness, slightly more flare resistance, and it's the Jena designed, the pre-war formula, which is what the Bertele lens is based on. From what the guys told me, Christian and Hamish spent a lot of time speaking to sonar expert Brian Sweeney. I could put a link to one of his reviews below, and they tried to make the best possible sonar from all the different variations. The optical formula is based on the pre-war Jena, and it retains the 9 rounded aperture blades. It's got the advantage of the minimum close focus distance of 0.7 meters. It's got EXIF data, and it's got the modern focus tab design. It's multi-coated, and it's optimized to be sharp at f2, which means the f-stop numbers f4 and f5.6 are shown in red, because this lens will suffer from focus shift at those f-stops. Okay, the question is, how does it compare to my favourite Opton Sonnar lens, which I use on both my Leica cameras, Kiev cameras, and it would fit my Contax camera too. The Opton lens is sharper in the centre, and it has a more modern, high contrast look, which suits both my film photography and my digital photography. If you want to see more on that lens, click here next.